As Jeff mentioned, if you're watching us on YouTube, throw us a like, click subscribe, jump in the comment section. We will stick around after the show for the afters where you can say anything and ask us anything before we wrap the show. We got Laval Jordan here. We have Jeff Goodman here. My name is Greg Waddell. Let's get into the late games tonight. I want to start with Penn State and Texas. I'll just call it what it is. I've had a love affair with this Penn State team, Jeff, ever since you and I saw them in Chicago at this tournament, what Shrewsbury was doing, the way those guys have played around Jalen Pickett. I kept calling it this. They would hit you and hit and hit and hit. You could not knock them out. They're going to go 12 rounds. I think we saw that tonight. Texas had a double-digit lead for much of the game, and they just wouldn't go away. They stormed back, take a late lead, but ultimately Dylan Dessou was phenomenal. Best player on the floor tonight. I thought he won Texas that game. Jeff, what did you make of this back-and-forth affair and ultimately the Longhorns prevailing?
Yeah, that's been the biggest. Dylan Dessou has been awesome over the last really month or so for the most part. Think about this. First 16 games. And remember, he's been hurt. He was hurt last year, transferred from Vandy. So really, they didn't have a big last year. Remember, Trey Mitchell left the team. So that was a big hole for Texas. And he averaged 6.5 points and 3 rebounds a game through the first 16 games of the year. Last 5, 18-9. 18-9. This is a completely different Texas team because, again, they've got all these guards, we know. They've got a skilled forward in Timmy. They've got a lot. Dylan Mitchell is just a great energy, freshman who just does whatever the team needs him to do. So I think the one thing I was always worried about was up front. Could they score? And Dessou also gives them a little bit of rim protection, which they need desperately. So listen, Rodney Terry, 21-7. I think it's time.
Is it his job, Jeff? Is tonight the night? It's his job.
Tonight is the night. I said that early on. I said,
give that man. What do we want here?
Now again, I will say this, Val, and I'm gonna remain steadfast on this. I would still give him a lower buyout. I would not give him crazy money because I still wonder, is he the right guy?
Just because he can recruit again, Jeff. Go ask Boobie Gibson and TJ Ford and Kevin Durant and PJ Tucker.
There are other dudes on that staff. Frank Haith got some dudes too. that wasn't just him, but yes.
I know he did. He didn't do it alone. I'm not saying that.
No, they had a hell of a staff back then. But listen, I think it's time. I just think if I'm Chris Del Conte, here's the deal.
Today's episode is brought to you by Underdog Fantasy, the easiest place to play college basketball pick'em, where you can get a little extra sweat during March Madness and win real cash prizes simply by picking player stats in this weekend's games. In pick'em, all you do is predict whether a player will go higher or lower on Underdog's projected totals, whether that's points, rebounds, whatever. For example, if you're like me and you think Zach Edey is going to go nuts in this tournament, pick higher on his points projection, add up to 4 more picks, and if you hit them all, you can win 20 times your money on a single game. Underdog's slick mobile app is easy enough that dummies like Jeff Goodman have even figured it out. So go to underdogfantasy.com or download the app and use the code FIELD, FIELD, and Underdog will match your deposit up to $100. Now is the time to get in on the madness. So remember, underdogfantasy.com, promo code FIELD.
You're not going to get Scott Drew. You're not. You're not getting Kelvin Sampson. His buyout is too big and he's not coming anyway. So ultimately, what are we talking about here? The Palm, like just give him the job because you're not getting Billy Donovan or any of those dudes. So give him the job now. Just make it an affordable buyout in 2 years that if he's average the next 2 years and they don't get in the NCAA tournament or something like that, you don't have to pay him a crazy buyout. That's the only thing I would do, but I would give him the job right now.
Yeah, why wouldn't you? I mean, all those guys would be excited for him. I mean, he loves Texas. He knows the state. He loves the university. He's been there for a long time. He's got roots there, and he's coaching. Look, you just talked about this earlier. Like a lot of coaches don't do this. Give Rodney Terry an enormous amount of credit for going back to the well. I've done it. You get guilty. Like you go there, it's working. You go to Dylan Dessou, he scores. You don't run the same play just for milking. I thought Tubby Smith was great at this. He would just milk it until you figured out how to stop it. Right. Give Rodney Terry credit. They got all the guards, but he just said, we're going to milk this until they figure it out.
Because they got no bigs.
That's a really good coach. It's like he's got 28 points at the end of the night because they're small. They play small ball. And, I love Micah, and Micah's done a tremendous job. It's hard to figure out. I'm rooting for Micah, but I picked Texas to win the national championships in my bracket. So, but I mean, give Rodney credit for just going back to the well, milking it until Penn State and could figure it out. And I thought the matchups, obviously, putting Timmy Allen on. I can now put his name on Pickett. And not switching as much. Great decision because of the size and the length and just making it difficult, for him to do what he normally does.
Yeah, I don't know how you look at the last 2.5 weeks of results, like beat Kansas twice, win the Big 12 tournament, watch the players mob him after the game. You can see how much they love and care about him, and now make a second weekend. It's his job. Let's just be honest. It is what it is.